It is October 2025, and I find myself on a tiny island just off the coast of Bali called Gili Meno. We're filming season 2 of Off the Mat podcast here as I complete my advanced 300-hour teacher training surrounded by some incredible yoga teachers and facilitators. Welcome back to Off the Mat podcast. If you're new here, welcome. It's my pleasure to have you. My name is Christy Knight. I'm a yoga teacher and seasonal retreat host. And in Off the Mat podcast, I'm aiming to start to share some of the richness of what a yoga practice can be and what it can bring into your life off of the mat. In the first episode, I speak to Kaitlin Colucci, a very inspiring woman who first of all started off studying dietetics. She went to work in the NHS before finding her yoga practice and her spirituality, and then creating a career that completely aligned both of these loves in her life. She now works with one-to-one clients, she creates her own retreats, combining the world of dietetics with the world of yoga and meditation to help people find this idea of holistic health. Gut health is not just about what we put in our body, it's about how we live, how we are in the world, and how we treat ourselves. I've learned so much on this week's episode with Kaitlin, and I really hope that you enjoy it too. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Off the Mat podcast. I'm here with Kaitlin Colucci. Very excited to have you here, Kaitlin.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so great to meet you and great to be on the podcast.
We're going to kick off, as always, with a little guest-led grounding meditation so that you guys can get a little idea of Kaitlin's practice and also just ground into wherever you're listening from today. I'm going to hand over to you and get started.
Okay, we're going to get straight to it. Anyone listening, watching, if you want to find a comfortable seated position, maybe legs crossed or maybe feet planted firmly on the ground, whatever feels good for you. And I invite you to perhaps close down your eyes, or if that feels a little bit too intense for you this morning, then perhaps just soften your gaze past the tip of your nose. And we're going to start by bringing some awareness to your physical body. So really think about lengthening your spine, reaching the crown of your head up towards the sky. Perhaps feet planted firmly on the ground, or sit bones planted firmly on the cushion or the ground beneath you. And starting by simply shrugging your shoulders up, back and down, making space in the front of your chest. And then bringing awareness to your breath, so taking a deep inhale through your nose and sighing it out through your mouth. Bringing your awareness to your breath, inhaling and exhaling through your nose, just settling into this moment, forgetting whatever journey it took you to get to listening to this podcast, forgetting what's coming next and just taking the next few moments to be here now. And then if the mind wanders, simply bringing it back to your breath. Noticing how you feel, noticing any thoughts that arise, any emotions. And rather than pushing them away, simply allowing yourself to feel them in their full expression. Feel it, think it, release it. And sometimes thoughts and emotions can bring up sensations in the body, and that's absolutely fine. And just notice what area of the body that sensation or that feeling might be sitting. And see if you can breathe into that corner of your body. Inhaling to expand the lungs, sending your energy towards that area of your body that needs it most. And then exhaling to fully release. So just sitting with this for a few more rounds of breath. Taking one more deep inhale where you are and sighing it out through your mouth. And then perhaps just placing both hands on that area of your body that you were directing your breath into that area of your body that needed it most. Perhaps your hands are both in the same place, perhaps they're in two different places. And just feeling the energy and the warmth from your hands, directing energy into your body, into your being. And taking a moment to just notice how you feel now compared to how you did simply 2 minutes ago. Perhaps more grounded, perhaps more aware, perhaps more present. Taking one final breath together, inhaling through the nose, and a big sigh out through the mouth. And when you're ready, simply opening your eyes, allowing the light back in. Ta-da!
Thank you so much. I really feel like that should be done before any big meeting or discussion or conversation, because it's really just such a great way to get you in the zone for something.
For sure, especially, doing a podcast. I'm someone who can often speak whilst I'm thinking, and I think it's so important to just ground and create that space, that mental space in particular, to really just center yourself before doing like big events, big public speaking, big meetings, whatever it might be.
Thank you so much. Absolutely
You're so
love
welcome.
that.
You're so welcome.
So we're here on this magical island, obviously very far from home. It's currently, what month are we in? October of 2025. So I'm not sure when this will be released. And I wanted to just start off, this podcast is called Off the Mat, and it's all about helping people understand how much of a multifaceted and deeply layered practice yoga really is, and that's really what we are here embodying on this island, on this training. But I want to start off with what yoga really means for you.
Such a deep question.
I know, and it's probably, we could spend a whole hour discussing just that one question, but
Yeah.
in as few words, not as few words as you can, in however many words you want.
Yes, in a succinct way, yeah. It's an interesting one because I do feel like the meaning often changes, but when I thought about the answer to this question, what was coming to mind was the union of mind, body and soul. Because yoga, for me, as for many people in the beginning, was very much a physical practice. And I quickly came to realise how much it didn't simply impact my physical well-being, but my mental and emotional as well. And so it's the only form of movement, let's say, that I feel in complete union of mind, body and soul. And of course the word yoga simply does mean union. And so I think for me that's probably the big meaning of it. But also not just simply movement of yoga on the mat, but of course as we learn more and more about the path of yoga, what does it mean? It's a way to live your life by. It's a set of directions, it's a set of values and principles that can help not tell you how to live your life, but help guide you to live a more authentic and purposeful life, which for me has been very transformative.
That was so beautifully put. It's funny when you first do a yoga class and you first get into it as a movement practice, and you hear people say things like that, like it's almost a framework for life. It feels like, whoa, we're going to dive into that. But first, we're going to have I was going to say the drink, but I'm going to let you say it. Your favourite drink.
Our favourite drink here in Indonesia is a fresh coconut. Oh my God.
Good.
Wow.
Some straws.
Yum. Thank you so much.
Got this for us this morning.
Thank you.
Walked down to the little shop and it was 30,000, which is like £1.
That's amazing. I know, so good.
It's one of the best things about being here, I think.
It's so good for sure.
Go for it.
Should we dive in? I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. Dive in.
Oh, that's so good.
First of all, I want to talk to you about what it is that you do and what you specialise in, because it's super interesting. Yeah.
Off I go.
Off you go.
as well as being a yoga teacher, that's not my full-time job. My full-time job is as a gut health dietitian. So have been a gut health dietitian now for over 10 years. So trained at university to do dietetics, and was very lucky in that I came out of uni knowing exactly what I wanted to do, and I've worked in that area ever since. So over the years I started working within the NHS, where I specialised into gastroenterology and gastrosurgery, and then went into private practice where I was working primarily with people who had irritable bowel syndrome, so IBS, and other complex gut disorders such as IBD, which is inflammatory bowel disease, which includes like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, and other gut issues, whether that be reflux or heartburn or issues with opening bowels, because the gut is everything from our mouth all the way through to the exit at the other end. And I think often people think of the gut as just like the tummy or the intestines or the way we poop, but actually it can be so much more than that. And then along that journey, I started to set up my own business on the side, which originally started as quite simply seeing private patients one-to-one, not within a healthcare setting. But then that kind of quickly started to develop into my own a new niche, which was to bridge science with spirituality. Yoga being a big practice for most of my adult life, I quickly started to realise that actually gut health was so much more than just about what we eat. Stemmed from a personal journey of my own gut health struggles. So I was balancing a full-time clinical role whilst also balancing my business on the side. COVID then hit, I was redeployed to work on the front line. And then after COVID, where I had no break to be able to stay at home and be on furlough, like I know a lot of people were, which I was obviously very lucky to be able to still work 100%, but quickly reached a burnout, and it was manifesting as like terrible gut symptoms. So I basically ended up in hospital having all sorts of tests and investigations. And when all the tests came back clear and normal, which is great, my doctor said to me, Kaitlin, he actually said to me, which I found a very bizarre question, he said, "Who's being horrible to you in your life? Or is there anyone being horrible to you in your life?" And I was like, that's a really bizarre question. No, why? And he was like, because gut health can be so much to do with this gut-brain connection. So the way that our body and our brain is literally communicating to our gut. And it was in that moment that I realised that despite all my knowledge and expertise and a relatively healthy diet, if I do say so myself, like my gut was still suffering massively. And so I realised it was all the stress and anxiety, or the stress I was putting on myself. And so I had this realisation, and then started to see these similar patterns in all of my patients. We could change and alter their diet and modify things as much as we liked, and it would improve gut symptoms to an extent, but it would never solve the whole problem. And I realised, what were these patients doing? They were lawyers, they were bankers, they were patients working in the city with very high stress, high pressure jobs. And so I started to talk to them about experimenting with practices like yoga, meditation, breathwork, and at that time was just suggesting that they go onto YouTube and look up videos there. And I was at this point in my own yoga practice where I wanted to dive deeper anyway, so I decided to sign up and do my 200 hours yoga teacher training, and then recognised that actually I could start to teach my patients the yoga myself. And I had this kind of then epiphany moment to build this business that wasn't just a dietitian, but a dietitian that then took a more holistic approach to managing gut health. So that is now what I do full time. So as well as working as a dietitian, I also integrate practices of yoga, meditation and breathwork alongside the dietary side of things to create this holistic package. And the results I'm getting with my patients are so much more than just by focusing on the diet alone.
It's so fascinating, because it's like this journey of you just following your intuition of what you're doing, of your own symptoms, of your own health, and then being like, oh, this is working and I'm enjoying it, and then creating something. It's really inspirational.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think it's with our healthcare system, so often you are treating the end problem rather than looking for the root issue.
Yes.
So let's talk about it in a yoga context. How do you feel that the practice of yoga helps your gut or your health?
Yeah.
Rather than just like your flexibility?
Of course. So the beautiful thing about the practice of yoga now is that it is getting researched, and we now have evidence to show the benefits of what it actually can do for our health. And in particular, when it comes to gut health, it's all to do with nervous system regulation. But there's 3 different reasons. So we have nervous system regulation, we have the physical postures themselves, which quite literally can stretch and lengthen the digestive tract and massage the internal organs by doing twists and compressions. And then we also have the meditation and relaxation element. So when we dive into that a bit more, we know that yoga practices and meditation and breathwork can help activate that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest nervous system, which is so important to help our gut function optimally. Because when we're in that rest and digest state, as the name suggests, our digestion can work as it should. It's when we have that sympathetic nervous system response, that fight or flight, that other side, which can often happen when we're feeling like stressed or anxious, or we have an impending deadline, that parasympathetic system switches off, the sympathetic nervous system switches on, and our blood flow moves away from our digestive organs to our extremities to help us either fight the threat or run away from it, essentially. And, you know, our sympathetic response is really important. I think in the wellness world, there's like a lot of talk about nervous system regulation and we should never have sympathetic responses. And actually it's like, they're really important for our survival, but it's when people are like chronically stressed and they can't seem to break this cycle, that's when the problem occurs, because then over time what happens is we get increased sensitivity of the gut muscles. This term we call visceral hypersensitivity, which basically means you can, and that's why certain people can eat a certain meal on one day. For example, if you're on holiday and relaxing on a beach, you can eat a meal and feel absolutely fine. But then the next day when you're back in the office and you've got 500 emails to get through, you could eat that same meal and have really terrible gut symptoms. And it's all to do with that increased sensitivity and the nervous system response that's happening within the gut.
So interesting.
Yeah, so that's why, the practice of yoga can quite literally help us to activate and relax the gut muscles, as it were.
Yeah, it's interesting with the parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system stuff. I remember when I was first learning about it, my teacher was saying, like, we are working and living in this modern world with the same brain as our ancestors who were using this. They needed a sympathetic response for running away from really dangerous situations on a day-to-day basis, which we don't really encounter that level of danger on our day-to-day in how we survive and how we live our lives. But that's how our brain is wired. So it's responding to the same way to this deadline at work in the same way that it would be responding to a lion trying to come and run after you. So it's like this real spike of cortisol and all these things that you need to react as if you're going to be fighting a lion when really you just got 100 emails in your inbox, and that is the stressor.
Exactly.
Which is so crazy because our brains we're working with the same equipment as we were then. Exactly.
And that's why becoming aware of these patterns and these cycles is really important. And I think that's where the practice of yoga can really help, because often what I see is, even with my patients, is they don't recognize that stress is causing their gut issues. Or when someone comes into a yoga class, which I'm sure you've seen before, it's like they don't realize how tightly strung they are. And it's only when you take that 60 minutes to be able to relax on a mat, or to tune into your breath, or for someone to even place a hand on you in Shavasana, to then people like break down or cry. And I'm not saying that's the aim of the yoga class at all, but it's because for the first time in a long time they've recognized they've released, or they've like that really tightly coiled spring has released and let go.
So interesting. If these conversations are inspiring you to take your yoga practice that little bit further or more seriously, then you should come and join my online membership. From just £20 a month, you'll get access to 4 live weekly classes, plus all the recordings and over 50 hours of on-demand yoga classes. Different lengths, different styles, something to suit everyone, something that you can fit into your schedule. It's literally designed for people who are busy and struggle to find the time to create that consistency. The best bit is we have a WhatsApp community group to keep each other accountable and for you to feed back what you're working on, so that all the content is created based on what you really need. You can find out more at www.christy-knight.com/members, or you can join the free WhatsApp community at the link in my Instagram bio. Hope to see you there. So when you talk about this gut to brain connection, Can we talk a little bit more about that? Because I think, I mean, I can't say I'm very well versed in understanding much about the gut, and I'm lucky to not have too many issues. But when you said some people think of it as just like the stomach, I'm like, that's me, guilty. I'm like, my gut is here.
Yeah, it's down here, the tummy, yeah. So the gut-brain connection, as the name describes, is a two-way communication pathway between your gut and your brain. And there's communication signals being sent back and forth all day, every day. So your brain is communicating to your gut and your gut is communicating back to your brain. And this connection is via a nerve called the vagus nerve, which runs from the back of the brainstem all the way down into your intestines. But what's really interesting is the gut is controlled by part of the enteric nervous system, which means it can function entirely independently of the brain as well, meaning the brain doesn't have to tell the gut what to do, which is why the gut is often referred to as our second brain. And within the gut, we have millions and trillions of bacteria that live inside there, known collectively as the gut microbiome. Often referred to as gut flora, gut bacteria. You might have heard like these terms used interchangeably. And this community of bacteria isn't just bacteria, it's bacteria, fungi, yeasts and parasites. So we do have beneficial parasites living inside of us. And that community of bacteria is the thing that researchers are now focusing so much on, because it's that community which are sending the signals back and forth to and from the brain. And this can be via specific chemicals known as short-chain fatty acids, which are produced when we eat certain foods. So, for example, like when we're feeling stressed or anxious, our brain is quite literally sending signals to our gut to tell us that we are, and then that's when we get this like increased sensitivity known as like the visceral hypersensitivity. But then similarly, for example, in patients I work with who have IBS, if you've got that increased sensitivity because the brain is telling your gut that you're stressed, then your gut can perceive certain symptoms of digestion, normal symptoms of digestion and normal feelings of digestion as like pain. And then your gut is then sending those signals back up to your brain to say, ouch, I'm in pain, I've eaten something not right. And then it can become this very vicious cycle that can be difficult to break, especially by focusing on food alone.
Yeah, so you obviously worked one-to-one with lots of different people. Have you had instances where you're changing the diet and you're altering this and you're saying, okay, maybe we need to focus on these foods which are good for your gut, but nothing's changing?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because of the gut-brain interaction is quite literally at play. So we see that quite often with patients who think or believe that they have a gluten intolerance, which is a bit of a nuanced area because often it's not actually gluten which is the problem, it's another component found in gluten-based foods called fructans, which are fermented by these gut bacteria. So that's why often you can still tolerate things like normal soy sauce, you don't have to be completely gluten-free. Anyway, but yeah, which is really interesting. And because they have so much like anxiety around food anyway, and it's like really you have to address the anxiety and the stress around food behaviours before you could basically play around with their diet as much as they like and nothing much would change.
So fascinating. Because we just think about it as all of what we're actually putting in to our bellies, to our gut, as like the fuel. But life is just so much more complex than that.
It is.
Because it's like we are one body and everything is inside that body. Actually, that takes me very neatly onto my next question.
Oh yeah.
So I want to talk it more in a yoga context about some of the things that we've been digesting and like digesting, good word.
No pun intended.
Relevant. Talking about since we've been out here. And I know we were speaking the other day about some of the philosophy side of yoga, which is something I really want to talk about on this podcast, because I think I don't know about you, but when I first did my 200-hour training, it was a really eye-opening experience of like, oh my God, I know nothing and there's so much more. And I think that's a lifelong learning, really.
Yeah. I was going to say, I still feel that on this training. I'm like, oh my God.
Absolutely. But I think when we teach something like a 45, 60-minute practice in London to our community, there's so little that you have time to get across. And we do try and get across a lot of these ideas and these concepts, but yeah, the aim of this podcast is to really see if we can share a little bit more about what is actually happening in our body. And they're never black and white answers, as we've come to know in this training. It's not like, this is how you'll experience it and this is how I'll experience it and we'll all experience it in the same way. So there's never really right or wrong answers or observations. But is there anything that we've been talking about since we've been here at all this yoga philosophy that's really stuck with you or that you have resonated with?
So much, isn't it? I know we were talking about this yesterday. Like, it's hard to pinpoint one topic or one thing, and especially when we are going off piste about certain subjects and talking about the nuances of all sorts. But I think if I was to pick one, and maybe this is because Mona, who's obviously running the teacher training, used a food analogy. So I'm like, that resonated.
Straight to my heart.
Yeah, literally.
Straight to my gut.
But yeah, I think it was around the koshas and the different layers of the subtle body, essentially. And I think that was something I knew of and was working with before, but I think we've obviously covered it in a deeper meaning on this training. And it resonates with me, not just because she used a food analogy, but because, like you say, the practice of yoga is shifting things beyond just the physical. So, can you remember the analogy?
The fruit one, yeah. I just want to, just before we go into that, I just want to ask, because probably some people listening to this won't know won't have any idea what the subtle body is.
Yeah.
So let's just dive into that first, and you just touched on it there by saying it goes so much further beyond the physical.
Yeah.
But how would you say you've experienced what is the subtle body?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The subtle body to me is these energetic, almost like unexplainable changes and shifts you feel during a yoga practice. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the koshas.
Yes.
So we learned about these 5 koshas.
Yes.
And do you want to run us through the analogy?
Yeah, sure. So 5 koshas are like these 5 layers of our being, which, as we alluded to, when you practice yoga, you can feel the benefits of yoga beyond just that outer physical layer. So the most outer physical layer is the physical body kosha. And in this analogy that Mona used, she said that's like the skin of the fruit.
And it's often how we first connect to yoga. So we're moving our bodies, our literal physical bodies, and we're feeling a great stretch, and that feels nice.
Yes.
But then as we dive deeper through these 5 layers...
Exactly. We then get to the next layer in, which is essentially our breath. So the
juice of the fruit.
The juice of the fruit, yes, which is the energetic body. So like the juice of the fruit moves throughout the whole fruit, just as our breath moves throughout our whole body. And when you start to tune into that, into a yoga practice, you can really start to feel things shift, I think, in a different way to other than just focusing on the physical postures.
And I think it's like the next thing that people come to. If you've been practicing yoga for a while, and for us it is very physical, I think the breath is the next sort of segue or gateway where you start to realize that changing and directing your flow of breath helps you move your physical body and also takes you deeper into the practice, which is nice.
Exactly.
Then the third kosha, the third layer.
The third layer, so the next layer in, is then the mental body. So in the visualization, it was referred to as the pulp of the fruit. In particular, like our thoughts, for example, you can then start to tune into your thoughts, not have control over them, but have more awareness of them.
And this is a big thing with yoga. Like when I was then diving deeper into the practice, you realize, like, for example, I always struggled at school because I have so much going on in my head, which probably a lot of people listening to this can resonate with. In the modern world that we live in, there's just so much going on. And I think this mental layer is something that is really affected when you are practicing yoga, when you're moving, when you're breathing, when you're being intentional with how you are, how you're wanting to be. Then it does affect your thoughts. And you see this through all the different yoga texts. This is an example of yoga is the stilling of the movements of the mind, which is the first Yoga Sutra, one of the most famous texts of yoga. And it's about this finding clarity and finding this like one-pointedness when you're meditating or when you're practicing, that you can quieten down some of that noise to find this, stillness up there, which I think is really beautiful.
Absolutely. And then that brings us beautifully onto the next layer, which is then this wisdom layer. And so that's, in the visualization, was referred to as like the seed of the fruit. And that's this like wisdom that's beyond even just our mental thoughts. So this wisdom, this knowing that like almost the answers are inside of us, that can be like born from this seed within us.
I think also links really nicely to what you were saying about like gut, brain, and the way our body functions is deeper than we can really understand.
Yeah, exactly. And referring it back to the gut, that's why you have things like gut feelings, gut instinct. You have butterflies in your stomach. It's like before a big event, it's like your body knows before sometimes your mind even has a chance to catch up.
100%. And trusting that's so important.
Yeah.
And then finally, the fifth
and final kosha, which is the innermost layer, deep inside, is the bliss body. So that was referred to as like the sweet taste of the fruit. So something that is,
sweet taste.
Something that, again, is part of the whole being, but it's only when you then work through all these other layers that you can then like access sweetness.
And I think when you look at yoga through history and people talk about this feeling of enlightenment or feeling of deep clarity, and it's almost referred to in so many texts as like the ultimate goal is this knowing that the joy, the happiness is in us all, and we don't have to search for it externally, which is what a lot of us spend our life chasing and trying to win the game, win the rat race, whatever it is, when actually contentment rather than happiness is inside. That's how I understand it anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Let's chat about your personal life story, away from your work, away from your physical yoga practice on the mat. And I want to talk about like periods of change in life, because we all so often have these like big periods of change, whether it's moving or just changing things in our life. And with change often comes so much uncertainty. And I've always found that it's in these periods of change where I connect back to the deeper layers of my yoga practice more and more. So I want to understand maybe a part of your life where you've gone through a big change and how your yoga practice helped to support that.
Honestly, like the reason I'm here is because I went through a massive change, and I was like, yoga to me was like my solace during that difficult time, and I knew I wanted to do my 300 hours at some point, and it was basically I went through a big breakup, and I was like, the time is now. I wanted to go deeper and understand. For example, when I did my 200-hour yoga teacher training, it opened up this whole new realm or like reality of direction and purpose on how to live your life, and it gave me like answers and purpose onto like why I was questioning certain things about my life and the way I was living my life and the way how others live their life. And yoga gave some answers to some of those questions that I had. But then as you dive deeper down this path, you start to then recognize what values are really important to you or like to me. And that's what really started to like shift dynamics within my own life, and then led me to a point of recognizing that actually perhaps the relationship I was in wasn't serving either of us in a way that it used to. We were together a really long time, and I think all breakups are hard no matter how long you're together. And of course the heartbreak was felt, and the sadness was felt, and the grief and the loss and all of it. But there's this like deeper knowing of being connected to the divine or like a greater purpose, or like recognizing this surrendering to the divine and recognizing that you're like part of the greater whole, which makes or made the past 7 months for me, it's like a comforting and reassuring feeling, like that deeper knowing within me that, the relationship I was in like wasn't serving either of us anymore.
It can be really, I think, brave to make those changes, because so often we stay in a situation, not just a relationship, but like any life situation, because it's easier to stay than to go. Yeah.
And that was me, I think, for a long time. No one really talks about the difficulty of walking away from a relationship, walking away from someone you do still deeply love, or love is a very big word also. It's like you can still really love someone but know that you're not right for each other at this point in your lifetime, which is really hard, because like you said, you can stay in it, but then there was part of my soul that knew it wasn't the right thing.
So do you think your yoga practice has made you be able to listen to yourself better?
100%, yeah, 100% for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Practice yoga, kids.
Yeah.
Kaitlin, when you have one-to-one clients or even friends or people who are asking you about yoga and meditation and these tools that we share, what's the main ways that you help people embody a yoga practice, not just physically? How can someone embody yoga, not just when they're on their mat?
I think it's a difficult question because really what I want to say is everyone go do your 200-hour yoga teacher training.
Yeah.
Like, just go do it and then report back. Even if you don't like yoga, go do it and then report back. But obviously you can't say that to everyone. You could, but they might be like, you're crazy, and then never come see me again. So, and everyone is different at different points in their life. And I think clients come to see me, clients or patients, whatever you want to call them, come to see me because they have gut issues and they want help with that. And you also can't sit there and just say your gut issues are because you're stressed, because people don't like to hear that either, because it also has this connotation of like, are you just saying it's all in my head? And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Or it's all my fault.
Or it's all my fault, yes. And that's not what I'm saying at all. It's the environment you live in and the world that we live in and the stress that causes you and
Which
whatever.
Is stressful.
Exactly. So I like to think of having conversations with people and I guess opening doors of opportunity for people to explore further themselves. And that might be through inspiring others by what I do. It might be by writing an article and sharing it. It might be just the conversations we have during our appointments. I host workshops, I do retreats. So by exposing people to the practices that I practice and getting them to feel into their body and move their body and sit in stillness and sit in silence and sit in meditation and really just experiencing it for themselves. Because at the end of the day, you can't pull anyone down a path. They have to walk their own. And so I think that would be, just by embodying it myself.
Yeah, it's like you've felt it, you've experienced the tangible, positive effect that a practice or a mindset has had on your life, on your gut, on your experience, and then it's like, cool, that's really helped me. If I can help people through doing something that I love, then
Exactly.
you know, almost it reminds me like what you were just talking about when you said you can't pull people down the path, they have to walk it themselves. I really, really like that. And it's almost like the path, if you visualize in front of you, is full of branches and trees and mud and animals, and which is, you know, these obstacles that we're just constantly in the way, like stresses of our job, families. Neither of us have kids yet, but that's a whole other stage, and people just can't get down the path because it's so blocked.
Yeah, exactly.
And this practice of yoga or of meditation is like slow down enough to be able to see clearly what is blocking my path.
Exactly.
And then you can start to walk down it.
Exactly. Start to move things one by one, and certain things are more difficult to move and require more time, but
I love that. That segues me really nicely into my next question. So you said that you host workshops and retreats, and I'm really interested to hear about what a yoga retreat looks like with Kaitlin.
Yeah, so I run gut health yoga retreats, which really merges my two passions of yoga and dietetics and gut health. So, for example, my next retreat is in Ibiza in May 2026. So it starts with a more dynamic practice in the morning, but really introducing the concepts of meditation, pranayama, and obviously physical movement, and really starts to get people to feel into their bodies. And then pretty early on in the retreat, often day one, I will do like an interactive gut health workshop, which is diving into the science. So talking about the gut, talking about the physiology of the gut, talking about the function of the gut, getting people to understand where in the body the gut sits. We do things like a gut massage. We talk about the science of why yoga, meditation and breathwork is so beneficial for our body and our nervous system. And that I find is really useful, because then from that point forward, every single yoga practice, you're working through that mind-body connection in real life. So you can when you're twisting, you can understand which parts of the gut are being stretched or compressed, and you can breathe deep down into the belly. And We do visualization meditations of fire or warm light coming from the belly and communicating back up to the brain. So it's just a lot more targeted and specific. And I encourage people to relieve wind, and I think even just having that gut-brain connection at play, I've had people had to like leave to be like, oh, I just need to use the bathroom. I've actually had to like open my bowels because like I think that can happen in a yoga class anyway, but when it's a bit more specific and targeted, then it can really amplify that process. So we do things like interactive gut health workshops. We do things like fermentation workshops, so making things like kimchi, sauerkraut, sometimes even kombucha, and talking about the benefits of fermented foods, other ones also being kefir. They're the most common in the West. There's like hundreds of fermented foods all over the world. But yeah, kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha and kefir are the main ones. We do things
Love all of those things.
Yeah, so good. They're so good. They're so good. We do things like visits to regenerative farms and connect with the land that grows the produce that we're consuming, because I think again, in the Western world, we've lost touch with where our food comes from. I think there's a stat, don't quote me exactly, but it's like 80% of primary school kids don't even know how certain fruit and veg are grown. So it's like reconnecting with that element, getting involved with the cooking process, hands-on, so you can really appreciate where this nutrition is coming from.
It's almost like when you connect with your food, or you have an idea of where it's come from, or you've prepared it yourself, I would imagine that also has an effect on your gut and on how you digest it, because it's connected.
Exactly.
You're aware of it and not what's gone into it, and not just bought something that's completely pre-prepared and made God knows where.
100%, and like eating seasonally and eating produce that comes from down the road or on the land that we're staying is incredible in terms of the benefits it has for nutrition, for your gut microbiome. So yeah, food is a very big part of the retreat, let's say.
Love it.
And I'm very specific about who I would work with in terms of like the chefs who cook on the retreat. So my last retreat, I had this amazing Ayurvedic holistic chef, she made everything onion-free, garlic-free, dairy-free, gluten-free as standard, which for my IBS girlies was like a godsend, because I had people who had actually celiac disease, which is where it's an autoimmune disease, you cannot eat any form of gluten. So it was nice to know that everyone was really catered for. And then, the next chefs I'm working with in Ibiza, again, they are so in touch with the land and the produce and the island of Ibiza. So I'm really excited to work with them.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And then so in the evening, I always try and teach some sort of yin practice or restorative. And that's to really activate that parasympathetic nervous system. But yin is particularly beneficial at going deeper through those koshas that we were talking about. So accessing layers of the body that perhaps a physical posture, a quick dynamic physical posture might not necessarily go beyond just that outer physical layer. And then I always like to integrate some other practices. I've just been really lucky that the last couple of retreat venues have had a sauna and an ice plunge. So yeah, hot and cold exposure, again, can have impact on nervous system regulation. And then another favourite thing I love to do is cacao and cacao ceremonies. So I've spent a lot of time using cacao, working with cacao, learning about cacao. And for me, I was sat in a cacao ceremony, and that was the catalyst to my whole spiritual journey. It like cracked my heart open in a way like I didn't even know was possible. It was quite profound. Sharing that medicine with others is something I just love to do. And on my last retreat, the feedback I had from, I think 80% of the guests was the cacao ceremony was their favourite part. Yeah. So because they'd never experienced anything like it before. Like none of them had sat with cacao apart from one of the girls. And two, because of like the actual effects that they felt during the cacao ceremony. So yeah, they really love that. So I love to integrate that if I can. And then our Ibiza retreat, we're going to do a big hike, connect with nature. We know, again, connecting with nature, listening to the sound of bird song, sound of the ocean can be particularly beneficial for nervous system regulation, stimulating the vagus nerve, all these things that can help us feel safe, feel held, feel relaxed, and therefore our gut relaxed too.
It's such a gift on retreat, because it's like these little things that are literally so simple, and we know that health and feeling good, we overcomplicate it so much, and sometimes it is literally, I love what you said, the sound of bird song, the sound of the ocean depending on where you are, the sound of the trees, like just listening to the like rustling of the leaves. We were set a task before this training to like spend 2 hours a week in nature, undistracted, so without your phone, without anything, which I was shocked at when I was doing it. This is bad, but I don't think I've ever done this in London. I've lived there for 7 years.
Yeah, Wild, isn't
Like
it?
I've ever gone a 2-hour walk on my own without my phone in a nature like environment. I've either always had my phone or I'm with someone, and I would say I felt a profound connection because you're so tuned in to the sound of the leaves like rustling slightly, and then the sound of the little squirrels running around or whatever it is, the grass, the feeling of it on your feet, under your shoes, like those things. And within those realizations, that is when you're practicing yoga, because it's that awareness. Like for me, yoga is so much about the here and the now and the this moment, and not worrying about what's happened, what's going to happen, where we spend most of our day stressing about something we've done, something we're about to do. It's actually, no, this is the only moment that we have or that we can affect. So be here. And that's the ultimate gift of a retreat, I always think, because you're so there. And yeah, some of those practices sound absolutely amazing. Where did you do your cacao ceremony when you did your first one?
It was actually a one-on-one with a dear friend of mine who is also a cacao facilitator, and it was one-on-one actually in her apartment in Battersea. It was just me and her, but it was such a, I've just never felt anything like it. It was beautiful. It went on for like 3 hours. It was really nice.
So you're drinking a cup of cacao and breathing and meditating and talking, and the cacao actually has an opening effect on your heart, on your mind, on your...
Because cacao contains a chemical called theobromine, which is similar to caffeine but has a more vasodilating effect, so this real heart opening effect. So rather than making you feel jittery, it can make you feel really grounded and receptive and open and feel the sensations of love. And through the right kind of guided meditations, and we did some ecstatic dance to really get the cacao kind of moving through the system, and then seated deep meditation. It just, for me, I think I was at that point where my spring was so tightly coiled. That was the thing that just let it like release. So it was very beautiful.
Sounds amazing. Cool.
Have you done cacao?
Yeah, I have, in a few different environments. We did it on the mandala training.
Nice.
And Carla, she led it, was amazing. I love it, and I actually make it myself. I just like to drink it. Like,
same.
Before I teach yin and stuff. But I find that when I'm having it in an environment with other people, it has to be facilitated well for me to feel any sort of effect from it. I often have it, I teach a Tuesday evening, 8 till 9 yin. Often I'll have a little cup before.
So nice.
And just do a bit of my own yin or meditation. And I find it makes me in a better space to teach the yin. It's candlelit, it's really beautiful. But
so nice.
I have also just had it in a time where it's felt like just an add-on, and like, we're just gonna have a cup of cacao, and I'm like, it's delicious.
Of course.
But like, I don't feel any sort of deep, expansive opening. But I really think that about anything, you can make anything a deeper, more profound experience with intention.
100%. We could make drinking this coconut.
Ceremony.
Exactly.
You could.
Yeah, literally. The intention you put behind it and the energy you put behind it. And again, that ties back to, I think, the subtle body that we were talking about, because that's pretty much it. It's like not just that this is a coconut and we're sat here drinking it. It's like the energy and intention behind something can really create deeper shifts.
Like understanding someone's picked that from a tree. I watched the guy slice the top of it off. The appreciation for the fact that this is from nature and it's absolutely delicious. But then also the awareness of how does it actually taste? How does the texture feel in my mouth? Like all of those things make it feel like a ritual, like steeped in importance. And I remember reading a quote once that was like, I'm going to butcher this, but it was like, let every breakfast feel like a feast. Let every time you rub the moisturizer on your body feel like a deep massage. Let every bath time feel like a spa. We have so many moments in our day that ground us, or that we come back to and we do every day. So how often when you're brushing your teeth are you like, oh, I've got that email to send, and I've got to sell that last place on the retreat, and I've got to do this. And it's like a constant dialogue of like, me. You make it like a ritual. And I think those moments can really ground you and take you away from stress and take you away from overthinking, and that's a big part of finding yoga off the mat, I find.
I agree. And like, I know other people have said, oh, romanticize your life. However you want to name it. Make every time you put moisturizer on like a spa, whatever. I think it's so true. It's all about bringing you back to the now, to the present moment. And I agree.
Do you think when, like, at the start of a yoga class, when a teacher says, okay, so now set an intention for your practice, sometimes with that explanation, people think, well, what do you mean? What intention am I supposed to set? For someone who's newer to the practice of yoga, what's an example of an intention that you've worked with, and or something that people could think about while they're practicing yoga?
I always say when I ask my students to set an intention, I always say it could just be the first word that comes to your mind, whether it's clarity, whether it's love, whether it's groundedness, whether it's joy, whether it's anything, because I think it doesn't have to be overcomplicated.
Yeah.
But I think an intention that's really sat with me, I guess one that we did recently here on the training was like to pick a feeling or sensation, like a high vibration feeling or sensation. So whether that be love or joy. And so whenever the intention is almost like that seed that you can come back to throughout your practice, maybe when things get difficult or you feel like you've lost your breath or you've lost your, I was going to say lost your mind, like your mind has wandered.
Sometimes. I lost my mind in yoga.
Your mind has, just wandered to God knows where. You can come back to that word, you can come back to that intention of like, why am I here? Why am I moving my body through these poses? Why am I breathing in this way? Where can I direct my energy? And it can really help to shift things in a different way compared to just stepping on your mat and flowing because.
Yeah, I felt that in that practice, those moments where I was drifting off. Sometimes when you do wander off, I'm like, God, Christy, focus. Like, you're supposed to be a yoga teacher. Like, focus your mind and get back into the practice. And that's just the mind, again, punishing itself. And it's like, okay, no, kindness. Don't be annoyed that you've lost it. Just practice kindness and be like, okay, my mind's drifted. I'm going to bring it back now, back to the kindness. And it directs your practice through those koshas, through those layers into that subtle body.
Yeah, for sure.
Love it. Love it. Picture this, an extended break in beautiful natural surroundings where you get to practice yoga twice a day, a morning energizing flow and an evening more restorative practice like yin or meditation. 3 meals daily where we'll come together around a large table full of delicious, healthy, nourishing food and lots of other activities to not only connect you with other like-minded people, but also to bring you more deeper into connection with yourself. If you're in need of a break that feels a little bit more intentional, then come on retreat with Andy and I. We have a full schedule of retreats coming up and you can find them all on my website at www.christy-night.com/yoga. I hope to see you there. Cool, Kaitlin, we're going to move on to the very last part of this podcast.
Okay.
We got some beautiful singing in the background from the temple, so I don't know whether you guys can hear that on the podcast, but I hope you can, because it's beautiful. So the final part of this podcast, I call it Final Flow, and it's just like very quick little short fire questions.
Okay.
Like, don't overthink it too much.
Okay.
What's your favourite meal of the day?
Breakfast.
And what's your standard breakfast go-to?
Porridge or overnight oats.
Toppings?
Normally kefir, some sort of nut butter, dates if I have it, sprinkle of nuts and seeds. Fruit, blueberries, raspberries. Here we've been having pineapple, watermelon, papaya, dragon fruit. Oh, it's been amazing.
Yeah, because they're so sweet and delicious.
Yeah.
What's your current life obsession outside of yoga and dietetics?
Oh, that's a hard one. My current life obsession outside of yoga and dietetics. Oh, well, it's related, but fermenting. I love making kombucha, I love making kefir, I've made kimchi and sauerkraut before, although in my opinion, the effort is not worth it. I know that's really awful.
Yeah.
But...
What's the one I made, and it's from a pineapple? Tepache?
Oh, tepache, yeah,
You
the
ever made
Mexican
that?
one. I have not made it, but I've had it.
Oh my God, I had a bad story making tepache. It like exploded all over my kitchen. And
nice.
Yeah, I didn't do a good job and I didn't do it again.
Nice. I remember my friend had just moved into a new house and they'd renovated it and they had a summer barbecue and I brought over some of my homemade pineapple and basil kombucha and I went to open the bottle and it went like all over their kitchen ceiling, like all over the windows, and I was like, oh my God, guys, I'm so
Surprise!
sorry.
That's really funny.
I felt really bad.
Free decoration.
I know, yeah.
What is a physical pose, an asana that you love to hate?
I love to hate a pinch of my asana. It's been like my arch nemesis. I love it, but I like hate it at the same time.
Forearm stand, by the way, for anyone who's not for asana stand.
Balancing on your forearms. Yeah.
It's hard. That's
It
fair
is
enough
hard.
that you love to hate it.
Yeah.
All right. Kaitlin, just to start to wrap up this podcast, I want to, and this is a question I ask everyone who comes on, if someone listening has resonated with stuff that you've been chatting about and they want to learn more, are there any books or podcasts or things that you come back to that you would recommend people explore?
So my favourite book of all time is a book simply called The Yamas and Niyamas by Deborah Adele.
So good. That's literally my favourite book from my 200.
And I love it because, and for people who don't know, the Yamas and Niyamas, the yoga is often referred to as the 8-limbed path, and the Yamas and Niyamas are the first 2 limbs of this 8-limb path. And they're basically just these principles to live our life by, recommended that we aim to live our life by. And I love this book because it talks about the Yamas and Niyamas in such a relatable way, and she uses like anecdotes and stories that just make it so clear and like easy to understand. So for anyone even interested in understanding more about yoga, even if you're not thinking about doing teacher training or anything, I always recommend to read that book.
That's so funny because that's the number one that I recommend too, and I think it really gives you an idea of what yoga off the mat is.
Yeah. 100%, 100%.
Love it.
Love it.
So good.
Love it, love it, love it.
What about if people want to find you or are interested in one of your retreats? Where can people learn more about what you do?
So you can find me on Instagram. I'm known as the Mission Dietician on Instagram. So you can find out about all my retreats and workshops and everything there. Otherwise, my website, www.themissiondietitian.com or .co.uk. Yeah, I think that's probably it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Okay, then thank you so much for taking the time to chat about all these lovely things. I really hope that anyone listening has maybe taken something that you didn't know before or has just enjoyed this chat, because I know that I really have enjoyed every single minute of it. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, Christy. It's been so fun.
If you enjoyed that chat with Kaitlin as much as I did, I would really appreciate if you could take just a little moment to hit subscribe, to comment and let us know which part of the podcast you enjoyed the most, and to maybe even share it with a friend if you found that information helpful. I really hope that you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed recording it. And I hope to see you in next week's episode of Off the Mat. Thank you.